pagal, mental, mad, insane, crazy, psycho, gone case. Let's start with a silent confession. Which of us has used these words to describe someone we know who we think is behaving a little different, a little not normal? I know I have. So let me start with a second confession. All of those words can be said about me. Because, well, maybe not gone case, but everything else. Because I'm bipolar, which means I have a serious mental health condition, which takes me very up and very down. This is not simple mood swings that we have every day where we're happy one day, sad the next, or angry, but extreme mood swings where I'm talking to myself. I don't sleep for days in a row. I have voices in my head. I have all sorts of thoughts. I can't control my behavior. Or on the other extreme, I'm so depressed that I'm thinking, what's the point of living? So you might very well call me mental or psycho because I have been that. But let me use some other words for myself. Mother, writer, teacher, professor, author, Oxford and Harvard grad, and today a TEDx official speaker. So how is that possible? How can a mental person do all these things? Well, it's been a 20-year journey for me of learning to live with my mental health condition and learning to thrive and hack it. It's not easy. There have been a lot of bad times for me and the people around me. And today I'm in a much better place. But there's still no cure. I could go up or down, and I need to learn and hack this illness as much as any other illness. But I've made a most powerful discovery. And that is that the words inside my head, the narrative inside my head, the dialogue or the conversation I have with myself has actually helped me to heal and to change my life. This is the language of mental health, and it's been an amazing discovery. Let me share 3 examples. The first one is the language or the dialogue of diagnosis. Now, diagnosis is a scary word. I'm sure you're already thinking, I don't want to hear anything more about this because who wants a diagnosis? And that was my case too. I didn't go and see a psychiatrist for 10 years because I didn't want the label of being bipolar. And I'm not the only one. Even in the US, there are people who don't go and get medical treatment for as long as 10 years because they don't want the diagnosis. They don't want the label. It is the words that is holding them back. But I'll tell you what happened in my case. I went to see a psychiatrist, and one line changed everything for me. They said, she has a normal personality. She has a chemical imbalance which leads to a disorder, but she has a normal personality. And that single line came as a sign of relief, because what it said was that my personality and my illness were 2 different things. My personality is warm, fun, optimistic, and I'm a hopeless cook. But my illness is treatable. My illness is something that I can manage just like you manage any other illness. So personality is intact, illness is treatable. That's the dialogue of diagnosis. And then I felt that actually I don't even think of my condition as a disorder anymore. I just think of it as my condition. The word disorder to me suggests some sort of malfunction. But actually, this is just something that I manage. And whether you've got anxiety, depression, stress, ADHD, and eating disorder, this is something that we all have to just manage. That's the power that the language of diagnosis did in changing the way I thought. Let me share one more example. The next example is a story of the language of empathy, trust, and vulnerability. At first, I was very scared to tell anybody that I was bipolar. But, even when I went to the dentist, they would say, I was afraid to put down that I'm taking lithium as a prescription medicine. I hesitated because I knew she would ask me, why are you taking lithium? Because lithium is the drug of bipolarity. And I would have to say I'm bipolar. But today I've reached the stage where I'm having a conversation with you, and I've even written a book about it. So how did that happen? That happened because of the language of empathy, trust, and vulnerability. I shared my secret over a period of time with friends, with family, and even my work colleagues. And I discovered that the more I shared my vulnerability, the braver I became, the more courage and resilience I got, because people responded with empathy, and they responded by sharing their own secrets with me. And that's when I realized that mental health is a team sport. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a community to heal a mind. And a lot of people now tell me, you're, kind of brave to be talking about your mental health condition in public. But I said, courage is a marathon that starts with trust and ends with normalcy, confidence, and authenticity. I started by trusting those people, and they responded. That's the power of the dialogue that I was having with them, of empathy, trust, and vulnerability. The third example is the language of wellness. So a friend of mine told me, you should think of mental wellness as a garden that you look after every day. And I said, that's an interesting choice of words, because actually we think of mental illness as a life sentence or a jail sentence that you have to serve. But actually, if you think about it, aren't we all hacking our mental health every day? We are looking after it, whether we're looking after our sleep or going to a yoga class or spending time with friends and family. We are looking after our mental wellness every day. And that's how we heal ourselves. That's the language of wellness. And science has also supported this. So there are actually neuroscientists in the US that show that angry words, angry messages send an alarm message through the brain, shutting down the centers of logic and reasoning. So if somebody tells you an angry word, you actually can't respond with anything other than fear. But positive messages impact your brain so positively that your body will actually behave in a positive way. So there is this huge connection between the two. So I'll end with a last story. I wasn't afraid about what people would say when I wrote my book, but I have two children. One of them is a teenager. And you can imagine what it's like to be a teenager and have your mother write a book about being mad. It's not easy. So I was so worried that somebody in my son's class would him say that your mother's a psycho, that I even went to the school counselor and I said, what if this happens? And you know what happened? One of his classmates actually called me and said, I want to put you on a podcast because I want to raise mental health awareness amongst teenagers. I was so surprised. When my son asked him, why are you putting my mother on your podcast? He said, because she's an expert. He didn't use the word psycho. He used the word expert. That is the language of empathy. He chose those words. And we had such a great conversation. He was a teenager, but he was more mature and evolved than most than most adults that I know. So we can choose the language of stigma or discrimination, or we can choose the language that heals and liberates, because it is words that matter. It is the words in our mind and the words that heal our lives and change our lives. That is how we are going to make ourselves feel better and the people around us. So who am I? I'm Aparna Piramal Raje. I'm a writer, professor, columnist, and mother, and I'm bipolar. Those are the words that heal my mind. That is the dialogue I am having with myself. And that is the dialogue that you can have with yourself. Because that the most powerful conversation is the words you choose and the dialogue in your mind with yourself. Thank you.